De'Andra Loux joins us here. She writes for the Hockey News, and she's the beat writer for the Tampa Bay Lightning. This is the Lightning's second outdoor game. They beat the Predators 3-2 in the 2022 Stadium Series in Nashville. That was in front of a lot of people. That's like 69,000 fans at Nissan Stadium. I'm completely surprised you didn't say nice.
Caught me a little off guard there. You know what? That's a fail on my part. I apologize to everybody watching. I feel like now I should just walk away in shame.
No, we kind of need you here. The Tampa Bay Lightning are playing the Boston Bruins. For the past 25 years, they've been a premier franchise in the NHL, especially since they started winning. Talk about the Lightning and how they changed the aspect of hockey in Florida throughout the league.
Yeah, well, I think it goes back to probably when John Cooper got hired. I think we can track the stats on that. Kind of turned things around here in Tampa and kicked off, kind of what we see that hockey is here in the state of Florida. You guys know you're down in South Florida with the success of the Panthers, but the Lightning have been, I think they're an organization that has always kind of done it right, right? They didn't try to skip steps and kind of slowly built towards it. Got 2 Stanley Cups, went to another Stanley Cup final, wasn't the result they wanted, and now they've been kind of building back to it. So, I think it's an organization that does things the right way, pretty much is the best way that I can describe it.
Tampa's been on a hell of a run over the last month and a half, despite missing a lot of players. Like they've missed forwards, Brayden Point's been out, they've missed half their defensemen, it feels like. How are they so good this year? How have they been able to maintain and be such a dominant force in the East when they've been almost as injured as the Panthers, some might argue?
It's crazy because it's like they're key players, right? It's not just depth guys. It's Victor Hedman, Ryan McDonough. They were without Eric Chernak for a while on the blue line. So the blue line has really taken a hit. Then you talk about Brayden Point, Vasi, all those guys. I think the biggest thing with them is they've been able to call up guys from their AHL team and rely on them. And they run a similar system. Everything is kind of it's copy and paste, and there's really good communication. So they've been able to just call these guys up, and they've been waiting for their chance to play up here. So they're all competing for a spot, and it's worked out really well. They got a guy, Dominic James, who was a draft pick for the Blackhawks, a 6th-round guy, and he's having a great rookie year. And then Destu, who we talked about before this, he's an undrafted guy. So the Lightning have always been really good at finding. They don't always go for the shiny object, right? They're going for the guys. They go over to Europe and scout over there, and then it's worked out really well for them.
John Cooper has yet to win a Jack Adams trophy for Coach of the Year. Why?
That's a great question. Great question. I've been getting asked that a lot. I think I think that everyone is so used to the Lightning having success, like what you talked about. Like they've kind of set the standard. They've been good for so long, and people underestimate what John Cooper does. It's hard to stay good, right, and competitive. And this year, the injuries have been it's a revolving door of injuries. So one guy comes back, 2 guys are out. What he's had to do and it also goes back to like the culture, right? Everyone talks about John Cooper and the culture that he's built, but like doing that is constant work. It's, good coaching. And I don't know why he has not been considered. And even this year, I don't know if you guys saw it, they're showing the votes and like where he's at, and he's not even there's no first place votes for John Cooper. So we'll see. I think he could have won it, maybe his first year coaching, honestly, could have won it a couple times. We'll see. This could be his year, but think about like having a competitive Lightning team, coaching the Olympics, and maybe winning the Jack Adams. That's a pretty big season.
We have a little bit of understanding of having all that kind of success and not necessarily winning an award for Bill Zito, who's been the GM of the Forever for a while now. One of the things I like most about John Cooper has been around him a lot the last few years, obviously, with the Panthers. He was at Four Nations last year. He's just such a down to earth, even keel guy, no matter what's going on around the Lightning, no matter how high the team is or how low they might be. He always just seems to keep the same demeanor. And he's such a player's coach. He doesn't take out any of his guys in the media. It just must be really nice, as we have Paul Maurice down in Florida, but it just must be fun to like have a coach like that you can work with, and that he's gonna kind of treat you like, just one of them.
Yeah, well, I think that's part of it too. When you talk about like him being in the running for the Jack Adams, like that is part of it, right? It's the culture, it's how he does it. When you ask the guys, and I'm sure it's very similar with Paul Maurice, although I've seen him on the bench, like he can get a little feisty. So can Coop though. But with the guys, they talk about that. It doesn't matter if they lose, he stays the exact same, like even keel guy that he would be if they won. So there's not a lot of highs and lows. It's kind of just he builds confidence in them. And I think that is so much, especially when you talk about these young guys that are coming in. These guys have had to step up for Victor Hedman and Ryan McDonough. Those guys they have a lot of confidence. They know what to expect. The culture's already set. And like all of that goes back to John Cooper, all of it.
They haven't really lost a step since they lost him, but Steven Stamkos and that drama that happened before he went to Nashville. Talk about the time that happened and what exactly was the disconnect there.
Yeah. It's crazy because it's been a minute since Stamkos has played for the Lightning. I think that it's hard to say now. I think in a couple years, everyone will be able to look back and have answers on that. When you talk about, and I don't know if you'll see this with the Panthers, but you go to 3 Stanley Cup finals and then there was a flat cap, right? And so there was a lot that had to happen. They were losing players and they were trying to work around that. And it was a rough year. His last year here was a pretty rough year. They were trying to build back defensively. And so I think that reflected in some of like his game and his play, and just the team overall that year. So it's hard for me to say, honestly, the disconnect between what happened with the organization and Stamkos, but I know that they definitely miss him. They're looking for someone to fill that spot in the power play still to this day, and it's improving. Obviously, this season they're playing pretty well, but he's kind of one of those guys to me who's always the guy that you can't really put a number on, right? You bring so much. Certain guys just bring so much to the room and so much to the team and the organization. To me, you couldn't put a number on it. That's just how I always viewed it.
Still to this day, one of my favorite commercials of all time is him and Hedman standing there watching the little kids playing hockey, and maybe good time to start saving for college.
Yeah.
But you kind of talked about Stamkos's role with the Lightning and how he was a power play killer, and us coming from a Panthers perspective, obviously we know that all too well. But if they're looking for a guy to fill that role, I know somebody who's out there who's available, who has been linked to the Lightning. Maybe one of many teams is Artemi Panarin. Is that something that you can maybe see happening down here to fill that role? Is there a spot for him? Could they make room for him? Is that something that could potentially happen?
It's hard for me. I've seen the same thing. It's hard for me to imagine a player like Panarin coming in. One, from a cap perspective, I don't know how that happens. Like he carries a pretty heavy cap hit that I have not seen the Lightning really take on. I guess Jake Gensel was the most recent guy, and because you cover a Florida team, like we don't see those numbers really. But anyways, they have a lot of scorers already. Scoring is not really, I don't think what they'll be looking for. I think it's more they want a good two-way player, and also face-offs are an area that they really need some help on. But that is a heavy cap hit. I personally don't see that happening, but usually what it is, in my experience with Julian Breesball, is where you hear the most noise. Like when he says to look left, you want to look right. So that's kind of my rule of thumb. We'll see what happens. I do think they're going to make a move or two. They have a lot of guys, like we talked about on the blue line. They've got an excess amount of guys. So I think that's probably where the moves are going to be.
What would you say is the difference between Steve Yzerman and Julian Breesball and how they handled the team when they were GMs respectively?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. That's a really good question. Well, I think Julian learned from Steve Yzerman. I think the thing about Julian Breesball is everyone talks about how he's almost like a stoic guy, but actually around the players, you get to know him, and he is actually he's a really cool guy. And I can't really speak too much on Steve Yzerman, but obviously like he learned from Steve Yzerman. I think Julian keeps everything really close to the chest. You're never going to know. No one's ever going to be able to figure. I don't think anyone's really been able to figure out any of his moves leading up to the trade deadline so far. So, but yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I think with Julian, he is really aggressive and he's not scared. You talk about the Stamkos move. I mean, that could shake an organization, in the wrong direction. They kind of took it the other way and went with it, and it's been really successful. But if you would have said Julian Breesball is going to say goodbye to Steven Stamkos, I don't think anyone would have believed you. So I think the biggest thing is he's just not scared to be aggressive.
It's just funny, like as I'm hearing you talk about Breezewell and then talking about John Cooper and just the way that they've kind of built such a dominant franchise here. It's been similar to what they've done in South Florida with Bill Zito and Paul Maurice. Bill Zito learning from Jarmo Kekalainen in Columbus, whereas Breezewell learned from Steve Yzerman here. And just to see that kind of how it's all come together here in Florida, as a Florida native, just like me, grew up watching hockey here. I just love hearing people talk about how awesome it is to see that, this has kind of basically become the state of hockey. Sorry, guys. I know it sucks, but 6 straight Stanley Cup finals have come through here. Florida is kind of the state of hockey, isn't it, D?
Yeah, and I feel like the biggest thing that I don't see people talking about enough is just the culture of the two teams, right? It's a totally different culture. Yes, you can talk about the weather, you can talk about the taxes, but really when you talk about like the coaches and how they interact with their players, you talk about John Cooper being a player's coach, right? It's not toxic, it's not unhealthy. The players feel comfortable. I know Brandon Hagel, I talked to him the other day, and he said he would feel comfortable going up to Julian Breesball and asking him a question. He's not intimidated. He could go up to John Cooper, anyone in the organization. Everyone's kind of on the same page. I feel like the Panthers are the exact same way. So there's something to be said. I think, some teams could take notes from what they're doing here in Florida, and I feel like, I mean, this is another big year for the Florida hockey teams. Like the Lightning are crushing it. So we could see two Florida teams in the playoffs again.
Let's talk about the vibe around the city for this event stadium series right now. How's it looking, especially considering that the Gasparilla parade is on Saturday? So these two events are kind of commingling.
Yeah, well, there's definitely a buzz in the city. And I think when I was here this week at the stadium, a lot of people from the league were talking about that. They're just going around and they can tell that people are really excited about the game. The fact that it is on the same weekend of Gasparilla is going to be, it's going to be a long shift for everybody. Saturday and Sunday, I think everyone's just going to kind of wake up, have a couple hours of sleep, wake up and make their way to the stadium. The weather is cooperating, which I think is amazing because you really never know what you're going to get in Florida. I personally was a little nervous, I'm sure you guys were for your game too, is the ice going to melt? So we're going to have water to skate on. But the weather's cooperating and the city is really excited. And this has been a long time coming for Tampa. Honestly, you talk about the Lightning being as good as they have been for so long, over a decade. So it's a long time coming for us.
Yeah, they've been trying to get an outdoor game here in Tampa for a long time. So to see it kind of coming to fruition and the way that they've done it, like right behind us, they have this massive tent structure that they built just so they get the ice build coming up. It's been pretty amazing. But you mentioned Gasparilla happening this weekend, which, for those of you who are from outside of Florida, it's a huge deal for people from this area. It's very pirate friendly. Roy and I are going to be out tomorrow hoping to kind of take some of that in. But what do you think we can expect as we kind of meander our way around the Gasparilla events tomorrow that you're kind of setting us up for? What are we going to see? Are people going to be like literally like Jack Sparrowing talking to us?
Correct. Yes. You're gonna wake up in the morning. I've warned some people, some family friends that are coming into town. I'm like, you're gonna wake up in the morning, you're gonna go get coffee, you're gonna think you're just getting coffee to prepare for your day. You're gonna see grown adults dressed as Jack Sparrow talking to you in pirate talk. I mean, that's like the level. Actually, last week I was driving past Hat Tricks, which is a great hockey bar, by the way, in Tampa. It's a great hockey bar. I was driving past there and there were two pirates just casually walking down the sidewalk. And that was a week ago. So at the Lightning game last night, they had the ice crew they were dressed as pirates. They had all the players, the graphics of them as pirates. So it's a really good time. Use your imagination with it. You're going to see a lot of things, but I think you guys are going to have so much fun.
Yeah, we are going to have fun. It's going to be a fun weekend. Stadium series here in Tampa. De'Andra Loux from the Hockey News covering the Tampa Bay Lightning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me.